The lower class and the lower class over time will become cognitively incapable of understanding what AI is doing to them and how it's molding their opinions, and will become dependent on AI for everything, and will not really be able to function without it or even make their own decisions and know their own preferences. There's an interesting effort to use the Bitcoin blockchain, for example. Some of these new, they haven't been programmed yet, but some people have sort of thought out the mechanisms for how to essentially create, basically a WikiLeaks 2.0 and have like information publicly available to everyone by publishing directly onto Bitcoin and stuff like that going forward.
In an era where data is the new gold and AI influences every aspect of our lives, we stand at a crossroads between technological empowerment and dependency. Whitney Webb is an independent investigative journalist who founded Unlimited Hangout, which covers intelligence, tech, and surveillance. AI is already making important financial decisions, such as handling credit card applications, and it's making rapid inroads in the public and private sectors. The buzz surrounding the capabilities of AI in recent years has been so significant that nearly 1 in 3 investors, as per a 2023 survey in the U.S., express a willingness to entrust all decision-making to a trading bot. Webb argues that influential figures in the establishment openly discuss how AI technology is shaping a new upper class, akin to data barons, who control the data that AI is trained. Citing an International Monetary Fund paper, the ministry pointed out that approximately 40% of global employment is susceptible to AI, with its potential benefits of complementarity juxtaposed against displacement risks. According to Whitney Webb, what we are witnessing is an endeavor to guide the world toward what she describes as a neo-feudal model. Neo-feudalism is a theorized contemporary rebirth of governance, economy, and public life policies, reminiscent of many feudal societies. Now let's go back to the interview. Before we begin, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell icon to stay updated with the latest content.
What we're seeing is an effort to sort of herd the world towards what I would refer to as a neo-feudal model. So sort of going back to the same concentration of power that existed in the feudal era, or the dark ages of Europe, as it were, where you sort of have kings and you have sort of their enforcer class, and then you have a large serf underclass, and that the goal is to have basically those strata, the differences between them, enforced by technology. I think a key component of that is the efforts to control the flow of information, because in that era, right, the church dominated the flow of information and knowledge, and a lot of this was later, spread around and distributed to the serf class through the printing press and things like that, and now in modern iterations, the internet. And in order to bring things back to the neo-feudal era, the powers that be have to take complete control of the internet and the flow of information, and I think that's why we're seeing this increased push of censorization, and also to have, AI, generative AI that they produce end up producing the lion's share of the content online. Those two things, I think, go together in order to sort of manufacture reality so that we're more easily controlled and herded into these various systems that they're setting up that will maintain the vast majority of the populace in this serf underclass. And a lot of the big establishment thinkers on AI have pretty much talked openly about how that technology is being used to create sort of the upper class, the kings of the data barons, I guess, of the modern era, as opposed to the oil barons of previous eras, and how, the people that control the data that AI trains on and the people that program and maintain AI will be sort of in this upper class, and that AI will act upon the lower class, and the lower class over time will become cognitively incapable of understanding what AI is doing to them and how it's molding their opinions, and will become dependent on AI for everything, and will not really be able to function without it or even make their own decisions and know their own preferences without it. And, this was laid out by people like former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, Henry Kissinger, figures of that variety, openly talking about how this is where this technology is taking us.
The cryptocurrency market has undoubtedly ventured into the mainstream over the past few years. Still, it has recently found itself at the forefront of another digital revolution, the one caused by artificial intelligence. In a blog post, Ethereum co-founder Vitalik Buterin delved into the evolving relationship between blockchain technology and artificial intelligence. He notes, it's easy to come up with synergies at a superficial vibe level. Crypto decentralization can balance out AI centralization. AI is opaque, and crypto brings transparency. Webb mentioned that preventing releasing information on the Bitcoin blockchain would force a reconsideration of their intentions to use Bitcoin for financial purposes. Now, let's shift our focus to a video.
And there's also some interesting efforts to try and, I guess, sort of use infrastructure that the elites plan to use going forward to try and allow broad access to information. There's an interesting effort to use the Bitcoin blockchain, for example. Some of these new, they haven't been programmed yet, but some people have sort of thought out the mechanisms for how to essentially create, basically a WikiLeaks 2.0 and have like information publicly available to everyone by publishing directly onto Bitcoin and stuff like that going forward. I think, if obvious efforts by people like Larry Fink and others to have Bitcoin be an important asset class going forward in the financial realm. So in order for them to stop the information being published there, they would have to nix all of their plans to co-opt Bitcoin and use it as an asset class to back up all of these different things. So that's an interesting case of sort of, using the same technology they want to use essentially against them to allow broad public access to information they don't want in the hands of people. And there's, different ways to I think tackle that, whether it's by building, getting off of big tech and starting to use more like open source alternatives, not necessarily tied to big tech. There's a lot that we can do to try and, get around these issues. But ultimately, we have to get creative about the information war in the information space, because it's definitely one of our best assets and tools in terms of waking people up and trying to stop or mitigate a lot of what's happening, is to try and raise awareness about it, which is obviously through the distribution of information. And so I think, we have to get a lot more creative about that, because traditionally, we've been very focused on these platforms that are very much captured by these Silicon Valley entities that are part of what's happening. And we can't continue to be completely dependent on them if we want to stop what they're doing as it relates to censorship and in this, broader information war. Well, I recently put out an article on how CBDCs are likely to be implemented in the US, and touched on that a little bit in terms of it's likely to be, sort of more related to Wall Street than the Fed. But of course, if you're familiar with how the Fed works, it's owned by Wall Street anyway. So not really that different at the end of the day. And how it relates to FTX, the collapse of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, and some of his ambitions to create basically a US stable coin, among other things, and trying to get the DNC and regulators to be on his side with that. And because they're going to king make which ones, make it in, who gets to be the digital dollar, and what have you. And I think people are kind of naive that if we can just defeat central bank issued currencies in the sense of, direct issued CBDCs, then we win. But if you, for people that actually have looked at what's going on, there's a lot of different ways that they're trying to essentially create the same system under different names.
A central bank digital currency is similar to cryptocurrency. Both currencies are digital, but a CBDC is issued by a country's central bank as fiat currency. The United States' slow progress on central bank digital currencies is seeing it fall behind the likes of China, India, and the European Union on the future of money, warns think tank the Atlantic Council. In 2024, the fusion of AI and financial technology is not just a wave of the future. It's a rapidly evolving present. Will AI take over financial planning? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. If you found this content informative, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for the latest updates. Thank you for being here with us.